I think we're getting ready. By the way, this is a nice crowd. New faces. I love to see new faces, and you all brave the rain. So well done. Let me put my glasses on so I can see what I'm not supposed to be doing. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have those members who are present begin with self-introduction. And I'll start it off. My name is Phil. I'm KD6RM. We're going to go to Rick next. No, it's K0. Oh, K06. Yeah, that's even better. That's even better. Gert? COW. That's different than CW. Da 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 da. Brand new member. Pass it around.
I'm Dave, WB6YLK.
What's that?
Wilson, November 6, Echo Mike Foxtrot.
It's Alan, KO6AGW.
Arthur, KD6GBY.
Mike, Kilo 7 Golf, Foxtrot Mike.
Ken, Kilo Echo 6, Romeo Michael November. Newsletter editor. See me if you have problems or submissions.
Hi there, Kilo Romeo 6, Romeo Alpha Oscar. My name is Kishore. I'm new here.
We love new.
I'm John, Whiskey Alpha 6, Whiskey Sierra Tango.
I'm Ben, Kilo 6 Golf Echo Oscar.
I'm Bill, November 6 Hotel Alpha, formerly November 6 Whiskey Lima Mike.
Willem. We got to get James in the game.
Okay. And I'm Carol, Kilo Pop 4 Mike Delta. I'm the vice president of this club and also section manager for ARRL Sacramento Valley section.
And newsletter, or no, not newsletter, but webmaster.
Webmaster. I'm James Goldstene, AE6JG. I'm on the board of the club, and I am the ARRL Sacramento Valley section ARRL club coordinator.
We've even got Nikola Tesla in
I
here.
help promote, I help clubs. Okay. Who else hasn't, did KO6CCU introduce himself?
He did.
Did he do /AG?
He corrected me. / what?
AG. He passed his general today.
Well, congratulations.
So
You know, this is like golf. If you get a hole in one, you have to buy everybody a drink. Oh. Oh. I thought I'd try. Okay, so we've got some remote people. How about Bob, GCN? Can you talk to us, Bob? He's muted. I can see that. Hit the space bar, Bob. We'll come back to Bob. And then we've got N6EF. Okay. Stuart.
Hello.
That was pretty exciting. Welcome. And then we've got James, who's here. Jim, W6JMF.
That's me.
Welcome. Carl.
Good evening, everyone. N6CKV from Wilton.
Okay. And then we've got Nelson.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Nelson, K6 Video here, joining from Elk Grove.
You know, Elk Grove's within commuting distance.
Just got off work. Sorry about that.
I just thought I'd mention it. All right. Couple of things. on this back table back here, we've got some free giveaways. We've got new people. Have they got a microphone? Here's a microphone. We need some self-introductions.
Bob Wold, K6ZLY.
Anne Marie Wold, WD6AMA.
I like the call. Have we got everybody now? Okay. There's some giveaways at this back table. So help yourself. I thought I'd release it once everybody's here. So whatever you like, it's yours to take away. And Carol, who does all this production stuff back here, is going to be vacant next month. She's going to have somebody carve on her shoulder. And so we're going to need a couple of volunteers to assist in running the production. And she's going to be around here for about a week before she goes away to train somebody. Who? That sounds good. Jennifer and James, the JJ team. Well, we'll do what we can. We got more that came online. Who?
Hey, Bob, K6GCN, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. I recognized your picture.
Hello, everybody.
Famous.
Happy New Year.
Welcome. So anyway, we talked about giveaway. We talked about Zoom. And one other thing that's going on tonight, we've got our door prize thing going on. So everybody that's come in should have received a door prize ticket, right? Has you got a microphone? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tony, KM6GMS.
Welcome, Tony. What's that?
A new general.
A new general. Are you a member?
Yeah.
Great.
Congratulations.
Welcome. We got a couple of new generals. Did you hear my message? If you get a new general ticket, you got to buy drinks for everybody. It's like golf and a hole-in-one thing. Okay. All right. So anyway, we talked about the giveaways. Oh, the tickies. Everybody should have a tickie now. And we've got 4 door prizes. We've got an ICOM V80 2-meter handheld. We've got a Nano VNA, a tiny SA, and a 50-foot length of RG8X. And that's going to go to whoever wins the raffle at the tail end of this. So you got 1 ticket. If you want more tickets, for $5, you can have 3 more tickets. And Gert is happy to take your money. Awful quiet. At this point, we need a treasurer's report. Do we have a treasurer's report? You need a microphone.
Let me do a mic check. So, if you have the treasurer's report, I can follow along. I'll introduce myself again in just a second. So first off, good evening, everybody. I am Wilson Head again. Good evening. I'm Wilson Head, your newly elected treasurer. So I'm your treasurer for 2024, November 6th, Echo Mike Foxtrot. And I want to thank JoJo, who I know is not present today, but he might be listening or he might be looking at this recording later. But I want to express appreciation to JoJo and everybody else that have that have supported me in getting to this position as the treasurer and membership chair. And so welcome all the new members, and welcome all you guests, and good to see everybody else here. Let me see if I can give this report. This is my first time giving a membership status report, and I can say that we had a new member come in today. His name is Brandon, KE6BZZ, and welcome, Brandon. He made his membership dues payment with me just a moment ago. We also have a new member added earlier, I guess in the last couple of weeks or so, Larry Fulkerson, Kilo November 6, Bravo, Kilo Bravo. So there's a complimentary member for taking the Folsom, taking the exam at the Folsom VE. There was another, I think, a couple of others too, right? We had Dr. Tony Sundari, Kilo Mike 6 EMS. Is that you? Kilo Mike 6. Thank you. Yeah, well, welcome and thank you. And so next up is we have, currently we might have 100, as of the date of this report, which was a couple days ago, we had 152 members. So we might have 153 or 4 now. And so if you go to our website at n6na.org, you will see that list right there. Is if you want to see who the members are of the club, you can go to the website and search that list and check out the call signs. And for the new members, I'll be adding their call signs shortly.
Actually, this particular report are the names of those who've paid their dues. It's not our entire membership list.
Oh, very good.
But our new Ham Club Online does have an entire membership listing.
Very good. Yeah, thank you. And before I continue on to the financial part of the report and the other aspects of it, I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't heard already, that we're using hamclubonline.com, and that's an online club management portal. It's a platform that we're using to basically collect membership dues and maintain communications preferences and your contact information. That way we can kind of communicate with you more efficiently, and including automatically notify you when your dues payments are up. So if you haven't already, please do log in there and get yourself set up.
It really automates the newsletter distribution. It's a medium where we can get messages to you directly through your email. It's a tremendously useful tool. We just invoked this about 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's a new thing, and I think you're going to find it quite helpful. And you can find a lot of information about the fellow members there.
All right. Well, thank you. Let me add a couple more comments on Ham Club Online. In recent times, there has been a problem with ARRL.net email addresses where the performance and the delivery of the email is inconsistent. So Ham Club Online has decided not to handle those emails. So if you have that in there as part of your communication preference, they're not going to deliver any messages to you. So my advice is if you think you might be using an ARRL.net email in there, you need to contact their customer service or me and get some help and change your email address for your account there.
Or you'll be left in the dark.
Unfortunately, it doesn't. If you can log into it, then you can change it. Yeah, if you can log into it, then you can change it. So no problem there. The problem with this is that you won't receive any notifications. So you might not even receive a notification from Ham Club Online if it is an ARRL.net email address. And so there's a problem. It's like there's a gap. You'll have to go there manually and log into your account and figure out how to change things. So it's easy to do.
Yeah, it's an ARRL issue. It has nothing to do with Ham Club Online.
Or River City RCARCS. But the problem is if you have that kind of email address, you won't be receiving any communication. And that's a gap. So contact me, your treasurer, or look on our website for contact information if you want more updates on that. So officers for 2024, obviously we have Phil here, for the president, Carol Milazzo is the vice president, Gert Thompson is your tech secretary, myself, Wilson Head, your treasurer, board of directors, Art Clark, Neil Jimenez, and James Goldstene and Jen Garland.
And they're all here.
They're all here. We're all in
The
force.
sheriff let them out.
Well, this kept me off the roadway tonight.
Ooh.
All right, so next up, if we can get down to the financial part of the thing, we have some recent updates. So the Safe Credit Union is where we have our club bank account, and the balance as of the end of November was $9,861. I won't go into pennies. So the recent deposits were about $781. It was a transfer from PayPal for the Christmas dinner payments received from you, the members. $10 approximately for the repeater fund donation that occurred in December. $70 worth of membership dues. Recent withdrawals, we paid $982 for the Spaghetti Factory dinner.
I want you to note that the club subsidized the Christmas dinner.
Very good.
That's because we're good guys.
Nice job. Thank you.
I thought it should be noted.
Yeah, and $300 for the door prizes. That's a sort of a reimbursement or withdrawal. $120 for ICOM handheld transceivers. $750 for repeater setup with the North Hills Radio Club. That was a reimbursement to Chris Huber, our trustee, right? Repeater trustee. And just $30 in subscriptions for things like the Google Workspace. So as of the date of this report, we had about $8,465 in the account, which is a checking account, and upcoming withdrawals. We have. I'm going to be submitting a request for reimbursement for $20 for the California State Secretary's office for the information filing for our club, and I have $15 for AV parts for a cable repair, and I haven't submitted those yet. But let me go up one more thing, please. Thank you, Carol. And number 2 is a $26 ARR equipment trailer insurance that's coming up. The repeater fund sits at $2644, and the general fund is about $58.96. I don't know if you have any questions or need any more updates, but there's my summary.
Sounds wonderful. Looks great.
All right.
Thank you, Wilson.
You're welcome.
The next thing on our agenda is website activity report. Carol's got this.
Okay, let me bring it up. This is it's a little confusing. A lot of stuff going on here tonight.
Anybody know that man?
Oh my gosh, yes. Ooh,
What's that?
let's see. Here we go. The share. And there it is. Okay, this is the web resource report for December. And just to remind everybody, let me shrink this here because this is getting in the way. There we go. This is the website, n6na.org. And we try to keep it updated with all of the latest information about the club. And there's a calendar on there, and there's all information about our nets and different events. So we invite everybody to go and visit our website if they have any questions. The website design team, I want to thank everybody who's participated in that. A special announcement about Kevin, KK6 Delta Charlie Tango. He is in the process of moving back to the United Kingdom. So we thank him very much for all the work that he's done for the club, past president of our club. And he actually has a new foundation license in the UK, and he's got a new call sign, and we'll have that updated there in just a little bit. A reminder that our nets are Wednesday night, Wednesday morning, we have a YLNet, and that's Jen, KI1TTY, who does that at 7 a.m. on our repeater, 145.25. And then Wednesday night, we have our regular 2-meter general membership net, which is also on the 2-meter repeater, 145.25 at 8 p.m. All of our activities on the 2-meter repeater are also accessible through Echolink N6NA-R, or if you have All-Star, you can get on through node 53410. At 8:30 p.m., we have our 10-meter net, 28.420 megahertz upper sideband, and that is a frequency accessible to amateurs of all license classes. So we highly recommend you join us on there. If you're a technician, it's a way to get some practice with your HF operating and your HF station working well. Also, slow scan television. We do this every Wednesday at 9 p.m. And you can listen in on 441.30 repeater where we do that. Except I think we're going to temporarily be running that on a 145.25 repeater because there's been some technical difficulties with the 441.3 repeater. The audio, after a few minutes, it's kind of fading away, and we believe there may be some problem in the one of the electrolytic capacitors in the audio chain may be failing. So that's a project that our repeater team has to be working on. The 441.30 repeater has a technical difficulty. You can also watch on our YouTube channel, and the link for that is on our website, n6na.org. And here's a brand new announcement. You probably got an email about this. The N6NA backup repeater, brand new. It's set up on the same frequency as our primary repeater, 145.25, with an input of 144.65, again, negative offset. And the PL tone is different. It's 123.0 hertz. And you set up your receiver for carrier squelch only, no tone decode, because that repeater does not send out a PL tone. So if you have a tone decode set on your receiver, you won't hear the backup repeater at all. And that's located on the west side of the Sacramento Valley near Zamora. It doesn't have any remote receivers or All-Star Echolink access. And the control operators will activate this repeater only when the primary repeater is offline for a practice net or due to equipment failure or power outage. So we recommend everybody please program your radios now with this setup, because we probably will be starting within a month or so to do one of our nets a month on the backup repeater, just to test it and make sure that it's still functioning. So that's good news for us, because we've had problems with some of the PG&E blackouts that we've lost a repeater in the past, and now we'll have a backup for those kind of situations, or if there's an equipment failure at the primary repeater. A reminder also that we have a roundtable net on 40 meters every Saturday at 3 p.m., 7181 kilohertz lower sideband, and that's a very relaxed, informal chat type net, and it's going strong. And we thank everybody who participates in that. Website activity for the month of December, we had a total of 1,191 page views during December, and the peak number of page views was 110 on December 20th. And guess what happened on December 20th? That's when we put on social media the announcement of our Are You Ready for HF program. And that drove a lot of people to go to our website and find out what it's all about. The most visited web pages during December, homepage again, 512 views. The repeater page is 89. The DIY radio, Tuna TNS, 61 views. That's a little activity going on there because we're doing some upgrades on the software on that. And that little, we got the SI5351 synthesizer to cover all bands from 2,200 meters all the way up to 1.25 meters. So it goes from 137 kilohertz all the way up to 225 megahertz. That is some amazing little chip in there. Yeah. This is a project that we built back, it's 3 years ago.
Has it been 3 years?
Yeah, it was in 21, and the spring of 2021, but all of the information for the project is still up on the website, and people can duplicate it if they go out and get the parts. It's a real fun thing. For $25 in parts, you can have yourself a little QRP transmitter that's synthesized with a digital readout. and
We
everything.
developed our own printed circuit board for that.
Yes, you did. Absolutely. Thank you.
So it makes it easy.
Okay, let's go further. Most of our hits to the website were through search engines. We had 55%. 37.7% were direct hits to our n6na.org URL, and then we had other referrals coming through social media. And again, the majority of the views were from the United States, and we always get views from other countries. There you see them lit up on that little map there. Vietnam, Singapore, Nigeria, New Zealand, Russia, and Turkey. So people find our.
I love the way you spell turkey.
Well, that's the new way. They're requesting people spell it that way. That's from the request of their government now. YouTube channel now is up to 431 subscribers, and we had 642 views last month, and that's on the increase. And our Facebook page now has 874 followers. The Twitter page, 158 followers, and our Discord chat has 37 members. Anybody wants to join the Discord chat, just send us an email and we will send you an invitation so you can join us on that. It's a nice little intercom that we have among all of the members that just want to chat about stuff that we're doing. And again, a reminder, if you have any interest in contacting any of us here in the board of directors or the officers or any questions whatsoever about the club, you can just send an email to contact@n6na.org and we will forward it to the appropriate person and get an answer back to you. And thank you very much.
Carol, well done as usual. You know, one thing I should mention here, as you guys look around and go to various clubs' websites, you will not find another as well managed as what Carol does with ours. I've looked at all of them I can find, and there's nothing even close. So if you want up-to-date information, we got it. A couple of things coming up. We've been talking about this HF operations thing. Now, tonight, James is going to address that topic, but I want to give you a rough idea of what's going on with it. Next month of February, and we were looking at February 13th, but we've got some issues with the site. It's going to be about antennas. In fact, this evening, I'll share with you a quick glimpse of the PowerPoint, the topics we're going to be presenting relative to antennas. In March, we're going to talk about transceivers. In April, putting it all together. And in May, the topic appears at this point to be DXing and contesting. And then we're thinking we're going to do kind of a little on-site, hands-on kind of thing somewhere in the midst of all this. So that's where it goes. You're familiar with what's going on with the door prize thing, the additional dinner thing, or additional ticket thing. You're aware of what the prizes are, and they're all sitting up here at the moment. Carol filled you in about our backup repeater system. And at this point, I'd like to call on Jennifer to talk about how this ERAS thing's going.
Pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Good, but it would be embarrassing. Hi. So update on ERAS. Right now, I got an email from George. That was good. I got an email from George that pretty much everything's a go for the primary station. Which, all right. Yeah, because we have some new people out here. So we put in an application last year, a Girl Scout troop, my neighbor's daughter's troop, and River City ARCS, to make a connection with the International Space Station and talk to an astronaut. They approved our application and we got started during the summer and did a 6-week course with the Girl Scouts. And then we've moved on to the build part. We have a GoFundMe, and the build part George has been working on in 6YG. And he has been putting together a primary station, and then Neil and I are going to be putting together the secondary station. There'll be 2 stations. And we have a schedule somewhere around February 19th that week that we're actually going to have ARIS, the amateur radio for the International Space Station on the International Space Station, sponsored by NASA, connecting us up with the space station as it flies over Sacramento. And they'll get about 10 minutes, hopefully, to ask as many questions as they can, the Girl Scouts and the troop. And we will be the sponsors of getting the gear to work for them to make it a seamless, direct connection. So it's very exciting. We have 4 meetings coming up, Saturdays, Sundays in January and early February, to mount the gear on the Girl Scout headquarters and test it out, get the setup for how the viewing and the speaking is going to go, have the girls practice their questions and make sure everything goes well on that end. And then the week before February 19th, we'll get a notification from NASA. Here's a list of dates and times. Pick your top 5 or 10, and then they'll tell us couple days beforehand, here's your time and date, and then we're on. The fall, well, it's fall winter. I think there's somewhere between 8 and 11 clubs that were accepted. I don't, of course, actually, yeah, I think that's even larger than that for this swing. And then, and they do it twice a year. They do it spring, summer, and then they do fall, winter. So I think we're pretty lucky to get in there, especially with a small Girl Scout troop and with a direct connection rather than a telebridge. So looking forward to that. And we have just a few more parts to get, and we've got a piece of equipment 2 pieces that went back to the manufacturer because they failed. And so we're waiting for those to return. But right now, looks like we're good to go to set it up and start our test drives at the Girl Scout Center. And we have, I think, 12 troopers. Not all of them will be available for it because some of them it's hitting their breaks and they're taking family vacations, etc. But it will be open to the club to come and to be there as part of the audience to see it live and also pitch in if needed. And it should be live streamed at least 1, if not 2 different social media venues. And of course, it'll be recorded and we hope it goes well. Does anybody have any questions? Mike. So Mike's question is, where is the station going to be? It's on Elvis and 60 something, like 6100 Elvis, and we'll publish location and time for people to show up. My guess is that we'll have people coming about an hour early so we can go over what's going on and hopefully have a screen that's showing the tracking of the satellite as it's coming into view. And hopefully that's all going to be streamed live too. So those that can't attend at the Girl Scout headquarters can see it live, both on Facebook and what are we doing? Google, YouTube. That's right, YouTube. Any other questions? Ready.
Jennifer, great job as usual. Pretty exciting stuff for Girl Scouts to be talking to the space station. I think that's unique stuff. One other thing I want to mention, I was talking earlier about this HF operations thing that we're doing. As you can tell, our meetings are being held currently in Sacramento County Library facilities. But this is a difficult task. Now, at this point, we're set up in this meeting room through January, February, March. And I think I may have April in there. I'll have to double check. But you have to make reservations, and if you make too many reservations, they bump you out of it. James and I both were trying to get this HF thing set up at a couple of different library sites. So if you see our meeting sites vary from what you're used to seeing, it's not that we haven't tried, it's just that the powers that be within the Sacramento library system are not necessarily receptive to our needs. So it's not that we don't care, it's just sometimes it's out of our hands. with that, I'm going to turn this over to James, who is going to introduce this HF operations theme.
Here we go. I'll come up front in a second. Let me just get the PowerPoint ready. All right, we're making progress. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, thanks, Ken. Well, good evening. I'm James Goldstene, AE6JG, club board member, and we were doing some brainstorming at the end of 2023 to plan for 2024. What are we going to do in 2024? And we thought, even though a lot of us use HF and some of us have a lot of experience and some of us have very little experience like me, some of us have not been on HF at all because we're working on upgrading to general or extra, or we just haven't had a chance to do it. We thought we would hold a workshop series on different aspects of HF, and we're hoping that we all learn. I think even those of us who are really experienced, thinking about you and a few others, will learn in this process. So one of the things that we want to talk about is you've all taken the exams, and there are always these questions about the art of amateur radio, right? That's in the regulations, in the FCC regulations, this thing about the art of amateur. Well, where's the art on your HT? You're just pushing a button and unpushing the button, right? The art really happens in the HF frequencies, right? And so we want to talk about that. One of the things that I will talk about, because I'm a political science professor in real life, part-time, is the politics around the FCC and how they allocate spectrum, and I'll show that to you in a second, right? And we have to use the parts that we've been assigned as amateur radio operators, or there's a chance they'll be bought by Verizon and AT&T and others. I have found that HF is very interesting, and this is the kind of hobby that as we get older helps us stay younger, at least helps our brains stay younger, right? It challenges you, and there's so many things to learn in this hobby. Field days are a lot of fun, and those are mostly HF. There's some VHF aspects of that, but the field days, when we're out in the park for a weekend or for a day, a lot of that is geared around high frequency. Of course, there are the digital modes too, like FT8 and PSK31, and is CW considered a digital mode? I thought so, yeah. So Morse code, okay. And then there's contesting, which some people are really into, right, Bob and Neil? Yes, right. So what's the difference between HF and VHF UHF? Well, in HF, there are no repeaters, right? You're using 10-meter repeaters. I knew you were going to say that. There are almost no repeaters. It's all line of sight, basically, in the VHF UHF realm. But what we're using in the HF area is the ionosphere and the ground, right? We're bouncing our signals around very randomly sometimes. Sometimes we're very targeted. Depends what we're doing. You know, HF is the only method that lets you talk to ships at sea, which I don't know if anybody's actually doing. And certainly, at least up to the Vietnam War, HF was used so soldiers could call home using phone patch. Right. The cool thing about it, depending on the time of day and what frequency you're on, is you can talk to people who are close or far away. You never know what's going to happen. Right? So one of the things that we're hoping to do tonight, and I have a few slides, but what we're hoping to do tonight is to get ideas from you on what you would like to learn, things that you have questions about, that as we prepare this 3 or 4 course workshop, that we make sure that we cover. Just a show of hands, who's been using HF regularly? Like who? All right, so we have that's pretty good. Who would agree that we all have a lot to learn? All right, okay, good. That's okay. It's easy, not easy. It just depends what we're trying to do, and got all these buttons on the radio. I'm going to show that in a second. All right, so Phil provided the general outline of this workshop, but we're also looking for feedback on that. Let us know if we're missing something or you want us to focus on something more or less. So if we can find a room in February, we were aiming for the Fair Oaks Library. We do have that for April and May, but they didn't approve us for February and March. So we have to appeal that decision, or I don't know what we're going to, I'll go over there. But that'll be antennas. Phil's going to talk about antennas. Then in March, Carol, post-shoulder surgery, will be talking about transceivers in some detail. And then April, the idea is to take our antenna knowledge and our transceiver knowledge and put it all together. And that may also be around the time that maybe we try to do a mini field day or a morning in a park, or do something where we get some equipment out and, you know, see how it really works and just play with it. And then in May, Neil and Bob, it's both of you, right, are going to talk about contesting and DXing and how to use the finer parts of your transceivers. Our transceivers are amazing. They have so many things that you can do, but you have to know you need to do that thing, and particularly in contesting, when you're operating split band and other things, or split. Yeah. All right. One last question, and I'll show a few slides. Who is interested in upgrading to general or extra? All right. Okay. So through this process, we can certainly talk about that. I've worked with several of you. I'm pleased that 2 of my mentees, Tony and Bob, have just upgraded to general. Yeah. And I'm excited to hear them on the air. I know, Bob, you've been staying on 10 meters in your little yellow spot on the chart. We'll talk about that in a second. And so, all right, any questions before I go to the next slide, please, Carol? Yeah. Oh, right. So we're very fortunate that we have retiring hams, some who are silent keys, some who are not yet, who've donated equipment to the club over time. And what we're trying to, and they want us, as part of the donation, to make sure the equipment gets given to other hams and is used, not just sitting in a closet. So we're working on, for those who complete the workshop series, coming up with a way to figure out how to give some of that equipment away in a fair way to people, to those of you who need it. You want to add anything?
It'll be a drawing.
It'll be a drawing.
It'll be a drawing, and one of the things we'd like to ensure happens is those who put forth the effort, do the license upgrade if necessary, and are not in a position to acquire their own gear, we'd like to see that this equipment ends up in their hands. That gives them a fair shot at it, and that satisfies the concerns expressed by the donors.
Thank you, Phil.
This is good stuff, by the way. It's really good stuff.
Who's seen this chart before? A few of you have. So the United States Department of Commerce puts this chart together. This is the most recent version, which is 2016. Amateur radio is the green block here. But I wanted you to see all the different parts of the radio spectrum that we're competing with. From really low, this is like maritime mobile, to, I can't read it on this. Can you read some of that, Carol? What do we have? Can you see it on my computer? All right, well, we can't read it, it's so small. All right, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Here's the next slide. I took the liberty, I'm not good at with PowerPoint, but I put red boxes around the amateur radio frequencies. So you can kind of see where we sit. I think I found them all. Some of them are also for amateur radio satellite. Right? But so this is where we sit in the context of cell phone companies, the military, maritime, aerospace, broadcast, right? Medical, submarines, right? It's all in here. Okay, next slide, please. So the stuff I circled here, is it moving? Okay, whoop, go back one. So this is the ARRL band plan. You've all seen that, right? Okay, now go ahead one more. If we just stick with tech, we're really just in this area. But once you upgrade to general and beyond, you have all of this, right? Except, I was just talking to the KO6 CCU here, this little yellow part where tech can go on 10 meters. And they find a 10-meter repeater, Bob. Right. All right, next slide, please. They do. Right, you can see.
And they all use CW.
And they all use Morse code. All right, next slide, please. All right. So who knows what this is? Who owned one? Few of you, yeah. All right, well, once you're done with this program, if you come across one of these, you'll know how to use it. All right, next slide, please. There's the old Yaesu 101, next slide. And there's the new version of the Yaesu 101. Right, so big difference. And what we hope in this workshop, go ahead, next slide, please, is that we learn how to use all these buttons. This is an ICOM 7610. Like what is an NR and an NB and an M scope and an MP-W. There's the split button. I don't even know what's gene? I'm generic, general coverage. All right.
Yeah,
So we're gonna,
right, okay.
okay, go ahead, Carol. Next slide. This is the Kenwood TS890. That's not a bad radio. It's only $4,000. Most of us, next slide, please, are going to have this, the ICOM 7300, which is new, about 1,000, 1,200, 900 art. You can get them on sale. And even ham radio operators who have the $3,000 and $4,000 units seem to really like this. It's a great radio. Yeah. So the cost of the hobby, even if you're buying all brand new equipment, has come way down in some respects. Now, there are differences in these radios, which in Carol's transceiver workshop, I bet she will talk about. And then the last slide, I think this is the last slide, the Yaesu FT991, which is also a good entry level, but more than entry level radio that also does VHF and UHF, right? And so we're going to talk about how to use all these radios and do all the things with these radios. And then I think the last slide is just questions. So any questions? What do you guys want to look, Jen? Right. So this will still be the monthly club meeting night, the first Tuesday of each month. Unless we can't get a room, but we're going to try to get the second Tuesday of each month as the workshop night, if we can get the rooms. Again, we do have it booked for April and May at the Fair Oaks Library. So we're working now on February and March.
We may end up at an entirely different library. I
Yeah,
know we've used
yeah.
Antelope in the past, and that worked out pretty
We could maybe do something.
So
there.
we're working on the venue.
Yeah, we're working
The
on that.
programs define the venue is up to the library system.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I had a question, James.
Go ahead. Hi, Carl.
Hi, yeah, are we gonna cover propagation?
Yes, I think that would definitely, I think in all the workshops, we'll be talking about propagation, and that'll be a big part of what Phil talks about, but particularly in the contesting and DXing session. We're working on the curriculum right now as we speak, Carl. That's a good question. Yes, we'll work that in. Well, but in the antenna seminar, different antennas will behave differently. So at least you'll touch on it a little bit.
It's all magic.
It's magic. It is like a magic wand. That's a great question, Carl. That's the kind of feedback we're looking for. What other questions? Are more questions on Zoom, Carol? Comments or questions? Tony, I'm going to pick on you. What would you like to learn? Oh, let me give you the microphone. Hold on.
Does everything count? Everything counts. But I do have a question about space, not space, but space like this. How wedded are you to this general area? The reason why I'm asking that, there's a new community center that just went up in Elk Grove. And there's a couple more local community centers. I know that the Elk Grove Florent used to use the sheriff's station.
I think they shut that down.
They shut that down. Okay.
That's why they're not using it anymore.
But the new, but the new community center looks like a nice place. I haven't been in it yet. But if you check the community centers out, that may be something. There's also an Elk Grove Library. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have any questions about the course? Anything in particular that you're like would like to do, or what do you think? How do you view yourself using HF?
I don't know much about it. So I'm the kind of person that likes to learn and learn and learn some more. So, I mean, it was interesting today looking over some of the questions for extra, and I'm looking at EME and I'm saying, is that a gang? Yeah, you know, but it's Earth, Moon, Earth, yeah. But HF in and of itself, I don't know much about, and I've heard a lot about it. That's one of the reasons why I became a general. And I'd like to learn more. So I don't have any specifics, but everything.
Other questions, comments, Kishore?
Sure, pick on me. So I've dabbled with HF on the lower bands, 10 meters, 15 meters, but nothing higher than that. So I don't have a good antenna. So I'm looking forward to the right antenna, HOA constraint. So looking for that, but also how do we get to the 40 meters? That's my goal.
Good, good. Who else? Oh, I guess say who you are.
Yeah, this has been K6 GEO. So I'm interested in everything we're talking about, antennas, getting on the air, but also mobile HF, things like POTA and SOTA, QRP, things like that.
Session. totally, but yeah, POTA has really taken off. Jen, I know you're POTA-ing. Yeah, Parks on the Air. Okay, and QRP, and would you cover that in your transceiver talk, do you think? Maybe. Yeah. And mobile. Who does mobile HF? Two people. Okay. All right. All right. Excellent feedback. Thanks, Ben. Other ideas?
KD6 GBY. When you're getting into HF, remember for a big part of it, it's more of an art than a science. You have to be very patient and be prepared to be surprised. One day you'll turn on your rig and you'll get nothing. The next day you'll get New Zealand like it's next door. That's how big the change is. Also, be prepared to have more than one antenna. Once Phil shows you how to build them, some of them are ridiculously cheap. And what you'll find is that some antennas work well on 80 and 40. Some work better on 10 and 12. So there's a lot out there. And again, more of an art than a science. But I think everybody's going to enjoy it when they start making a few contacts, excuse me.
Hi, this is Tom, Whiskey 6 Bravos here. The science part is I discovered in my early days of trying to get to different countries and what time of the day would work best and what frequency would work best. There are websites that have probability of what time of day and what band will work to get to a particular country. And so there are websites that do that. That's the science part of it. That it kind of works. I have been able to get over 150 different countries doing the right time of day. Usually I try and pick times that I'm actually awake. So, well, actually, some countries are asleep when and vice versa. So if you really need that country, you gotta work it hard and get up at god awful times. So there are websites that help you. There are websites that predict when it's the most probable.
Spotter stations too that let you know what's going on.
All right. Well, there's so much to cover. What we may do is do this initial group, see what's left to do, and then do some other things, right? I mean, there's so much to cover. Any other comments, ideas, suggestions? If you think of something after the meeting, send to contact@n6na.org. Any ideas? Go ahead and send that. I know, Art, you wanted also to talk about CW, which we all dabble in at different times. And that really is an art. And
it's the most efficient mode.
It's very efficient. It lets you talk further and hear further on very little power. And that gets to QRPing too. Wilson.
I had a question for the audience. Is that I was wondering if I could get anybody to share what barriers they have in mind. Like, do you have any ideas about what's holding you back from HF, or if there's any points of discussion around that? I think that would be interesting to hear about.
I'll take you one better. Let's do a poll. How many have HOA issues? How many are scared to death of antennas?
Well, we can work on that.
It was a cheap shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Antennas are always an issue, and it's my favorite topic. I love to talk about antennas. and how to measure antenna performance and how to find unique ways to put up an antenna when you have no real estate that affords you an opportunity to put up an antenna. It's fascinating stuff.
And let me say, I'm trained in political economy and political theory. So when you start talking about wavelength and frequency, and what was the light of speed division? What was the formula? There's a formula.
Oh, 300 million meters.
Yeah,
Never forget
right,
300 million.
That's the
meters.
key. That's the secret. But once you understand it, then you can do all these things.
And
Yeah.
we're going to really understand it.
Right.
You're going to have fun with my antenna session.
Yeah, yeah. And you can buy antennas that are very good and cheap or expensive, and you can build antennas that also give you the
All you need
satisfaction of
to have
saying,
an
"I made
effective
this."
antenna is a cheap piece of wire. Literally, that's all you need.
Marie going after her license after 40 years. I have a question about removing two antennas from two different towers. Would the club donate some time to come out to our house to remove two antennas? If not, then we've got a problem.
We need volunteers, young volunteers, by the way. At age 75, I quit climbing towers.
40 feet. Right? No.
It's not 40 feet, it's about 20 feet on one tower. And it has two antennas on it, a 10-meter beam and a Ringo Ranger on it. The other one has it's just a pole with a 10-meter Ringo Ranger on it.
Put up new ones? Yeah. All right, we'll talk about that, Marie. We'll look for volunteers. Yeah. Any other comments, questions, ideas? Anything? Anybody?
I think it's Bob P's time.
It is.
Let's do that. Does anybody recognize this man? Anybody recognize him? Oh, he went away. This guy's name is Bob Pease. Bob was the staff scientist for National Semiconductor. He published 8 books, filed 31 patents, wrote several hundred articles, and was regarded as one of the finest analog engineers the country ever produced, graduate of MIT, and an incredible nice guy. He'd do anything for you if you had a question. And every month he had a column called it was called Peas Porridge, and every one of them started off with, "What's all this fill in the blank stuff anyway?" So if you go to the next slide, this one is, what is this band stuff? And one more slide. What does 10-meter band or 2-meter band mean? And so we're going to get into this when we get into our antenna session. We're going to cover this topic. Next one, Carol. We're going to talk about resonant, non-resonant types of antennas. One more. And we're going to talk about resonance, because you see this little girl on the swing? She's exhibiting the property of resonance, mechanical resonance. And in our world, we talk about electrical resonance. But for example, have you ever seen a washing machine on a spin cycle dancing across the floor? You know why? It is exactly resonant. You see, any mechanical system has a natural frequency. And if you excite that particular system at the right frequency, it tunes to that frequency. It's like tuning forks. So There's mechanical resonance. Our world revolves around electrical resonance. Next slide. Various types of antennas. These are simple ones. Next slide. A really popular design these days is the end-fed half-wave. There's also an off-center fed. Next slide. These are HOA-friendly types of things. The vertical, this is a manufactured multi-band vertical. You can make your own vertical. Next slide. Then there's the G5RV, which is also multi-band. There's the beam. Next slide. These are portable antenna designs, the magnetic loop, the buddy pole. That's a SOTA antenna or a Parks on the Air antenna. Next slide. And then we're going to talk about the one thing that's the most misunderstood topic in amateur radio, this thing called SWR. Does everybody understand that SWR doesn't say a damn thing about how your antenna works? That isn't the answer I normally get. Everybody thinks it's a big deal. That's exactly right. It's about reflected power. Next slide. Antenna impedance. We're going to talk about that briefly. Next slide. In order to measure antenna impedance, you need an instrument. And here's a couple examples. You see where this thing dips right here, that dip point, that's the resonance point of that antenna. And this is a different measuring tool. You can see a dip point, that's the resonant point of that antenna. Next slide. And then, you know, there's all these antenna analyzers. The one on the left is the greatest secret on earth. That particular device for under $200, it measures anything from 10 kilohertz, that's audio frequency, all the way up to 600 megahertz, highly accurate vector network analyzer. You can use this device to measure the actual impedance at the antenna. You can do an open short load calibration with that thing as it sets. And the software that comes with it, you can do some amazing, amazing things. $200. The one on the right is the latest and the greatest, and everybody's fallen in love with the Nano VNA. We did a series of clinics on the Nano VNA. Very well attended, very well received, and I think everybody got a lot out of it. Next slide. This is what we used to use back when I was young, except I couldn't afford one of those. You'd adjust for minimum sparks. Because the loading capacitor in the Pi network sometimes would arc over because your antenna was so bad. Next slide. These are the things that always crop up. These are your issues. HOA restrictions, which is why I asked that question. It's typically the #1 problem for ham radio operators. Spousal objections. I'm sure nobody here has any issues with that, right? My wife loves it when I fill the sky with metal. Cost, it's an issue. Antenna height, it's an issue. Available supports, that's an issue. Your band use interest, that's an issue. The desired radiation pattern, by the way, that's exactly what you should concern yourself with if you want an antenna that performs, is the radiation pattern. You never hear anybody talk about it, but it's really the key point. Feed line entry, I'll show you something about that. And then, you know, with the HOA thing, out of sight, out of mind is the rule of the day. If they can't see it, you're not in violation, right? Building wiring and plumbing and rain gutters, they all have an impact on your antenna performance. You all aware of that? Well, let's get into some more of them. Plant life absorption. Did you know that's an issue? My wife has crepe myrtles in the backyard, and I've got a pair of phase verticals in the backyard. And one day my antenna was completely out of tune. The crepe myrtle was brushed up against the antenna, and it was oozing out this kind of gooey stuff, wipes out my antenna. And not only that, trees absorb radiation patterns. So believe it or not, plants have an issue. The properties of the ground you live on, how much control do you have over that? The answer is none, by the way. Power line noise, is that an issue? How about neighbors' switch mode power supplies? Is that an issue? And how about geography? If you're at the bottom of a hill on either side, you're kind of down on the dip, you think geography has an impact on your antenna efficiency, radiation pattern? Or if you're on a slope hill and you're pretty close to the top and it's sloped towards the east, what do you think that does for your signal? Works pretty good, doesn't it? And if you can get yourself within about 5 foot of the ocean, that's the best place to be. And do I have any more slides in there? Oh, yeah. This is a cute gadget when you're trying to bring wires into the house. Believe it or not, some wives get upset when you bore holes in a wall. Can you believe that? They don't understand what's important. So in any event, we're going to go through all that stuff. And I think that's all I was going to cover, unless we've got some questions. That's it? Somebody's got to have a question. I'm done. Yes, James. No. What question? Oh, the question James had is, will you need a calculator at the session? No. Wilson. The first thing is, I'm old. The second thing is, I used to be blonde.
And the question was, what enticed Phil to overcome all those obstacles?
As I said, I'm old and I used to be blonde. I'll tell you my ham radio story in a very short, brief period. Several of you have heard this from me, but I first got licensed when I was 11. And we were not exactly poor, but we were below poor. So no money, nothing. And you had to try and figure a way to make things work. So I built my own transmitter, borrowed a receiver, hung some wire between 2 trees. I found a piece of coax that somebody had used for cable TV stuff. And that's how I got on the air. And the antenna side of things fascinated me to no end. And one day, about, 25 years ago, I discovered this thing called a vector network analyzer. And nowadays you can buy a nano VNA for $50. But once you have an instrument like that, it's unbelievable what you learn and what you understand and how to deal with all of these antenna issues. So tonight's raffle or door prize includes a nano VNA. So if you're interested in what makes antennas tick, this really is the answer. And it's a very inexpensive method of getting to the ultimate answer. So with that, I think I've covered everything I wish to cover. Any other questions?
Not a question, except that 2 things. I counted the number of signatures on my sign-in sheet, and there's a lot more heads in here than there are signatures, sign-ins. And just to make everybody aware, particularly since we've got some newbies, that I'm the one that prints the badges. But the only way I can do it is if I got your info, and that means going on the website and putting your info in and making a request. And when I get enough to do a page, I print them and bring them to the next gathering, whether you come to the breakfast or to the library or a session that we hope we will be attending in the near future. But I will make them available with your cooperation.
Does everybody know about our breakfast?
Oh, Oh, yeah, we got new
Every
beers.
third Saturday, we gather 8:30 at Brookfields on Madison, on Madison. And we get somewhere between 20 to 30 people at those breakfasts. It's a non-topic issue. It's just a get together. It's a good breakfast. We have a grand time. And so if you're looking for something to do on a Saturday morning, it's not a bad place to be. Okay. I think we're at the point. Does everybody have a ticket? Everybody's covered with tickets. Anybody want to buy some more tickets? Because Gert likes your money.
Just know that I don't have
Oh, we got two more candidates. We're into selling. I'm a capitalist by heart. Oh, really? The county. Would you see if you can find any contact information? And then this contact thing, just type it into our contact thing and we'll get a hold of them. I mean, that'd be great for us if we had a permanent place. I mean, that'd make a huge difference.
I was wondering if we could check into where the Aries hold their meetings out in McClellan Field to hold our meetings.
So that's the county OES building. I'm sure they wouldn't, it's a good idea. I don't think they'd let us come in at night, and it is a bit of a challenge even during the day to get into it. It's possible, and N6 SACJ Ballinger, we could ask him about it.
All right. Whatever we can come up
It's
with.
not a bad idea.
I
Yeah.
like the idea. Okay, back to this raffle thing, or not raffle, door prize thing. Who's going to draw? I think we're going to have Carol draw because she's wounded. Pick our winner. Chicken dinner. Whatever one of they get to pick. Okay, the last three digits are 552. Come on up. Okay, with 552, you have a choice between a 2-meter handheld ICOM, a 50-foot length of RG8X, a nano VNA, or a tiny spectrum analyzer. Now, this allows you to measure relative power all the way up to 3 gig. 900 megahertz. Your radio is supposed to put out a pure signal at the frequency intended, but they all put out signals beyond that, harmonics. And on that device, you can see exactly how much energy is here and how much is here and how much is here. So you can use it to measure spurious radiation stuff, or you can use it to measure the modulation index of your signal. It's a pretty technical instrument. Yes. Okay. That concludes our meeting unless there's some additional questions. Art. No, one prize. Pick one out of 4. Next month, we're going to have the same 4 prizes.
There's freebie table though over there.
The freebie table is free.
consolation prizes.
Okay. By the way, this is the largest attendance we've had in quite a while. I appreciate everybody coming out in the rain. Thank you one and all. We need to put the chairs back. There's a carrier underneath this table over here. And if you have a question about how to use the carrier, there's an example to look at in this closet. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Thanks to all who joined us on Zoom. And again, if you're interested in participating in the door prize drawing, you need to be here in person. So we're looking forward to you joining us here in future meetings.
Oh, thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, Carol.
You all have a very good night. Thanks again for joining us.
But anyway,